It is always good to see this large crowd on the community college campus. And I sincerely believe that this big, enthusiastic crowd is here to show the governor that we are so much looking forward to working with this administration in improving not only far western Kentucky and the Paducah region, but all of Kentucky. So let's show him that today. I would like to express regrets on behalf of Mayor Paxton that he is unable to be with us today, but I would like to recognize County Judge Executive Van Newberry. If Van would, Van, over here in the corner. Very glad to have you with us and all of our guests. I would now have the pleasure of introducing Glenn Denton. And Glenn Denton is very well known to this community for a variety of leadership positions. He's chaired the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce, led many of our community initiatives, but most recently represented McCracken County on the governor's transition team. So Glenn will come forward to introduce our governor. Glenn.
Thank you, Dr. Vesey. It is my privilege this afternoon to make an introduction. Seated within this classroom are leaders from Paducah, McCracken County, and the Jackson Purchase region. We've gathered here today to simply demonstrate our unity and singular purpose in developing positive working relationships with Frankfort. Frankly, our reputation precedes us. Paducah and McCracken County are united, engaged, we're progressive, and we do all of this for the benefit of the Jackson Purchase region. When Frankfort gives us the opportunity to achieve a goal, we meet that goal, and in fact, we exceed that goal. This building would be one of those examples. My introduction today is of a gentleman now living in Frankfort who really needs no introduction. This Dawson Springs native knows Western Kentucky, and he is completely fluent in the age-old debate of where Western Kentucky truly starts and truly ends. He has served as state representative, attorney general, and lieutenant governor, and in the meanwhile, he's also spent 2 decades in the private business sector. At midnight on December 11th, Steve Beshear was sworn in as the 61st governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. In another hat tip to Western Kentucky, he was sworn in by our own Supreme Court Justice Bill Cunningham. Since that time, he has formed an administration, conducted an assessment of state government and the issues that it now faces. And now, within 60 days of his being on the job, he has returned to Western Kentucky to share with us his information about his administration, his assessment of state government, and his vision for where we are headed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are truly honored to have him here today, considering that tomorrow he presents his budget for the next 2 years. So as you can imagine, he might have 1 or 2 things on his to-do list for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you to please stand and welcome with me the Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Steve Beshear.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. What a turnout for in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. And I really appreciate you all making the effort to come here and visit with me for a few minutes. As a native of Dawson Springs and coming from West Central Kentucky, yes, I know that age-old debate, Glenn. I know when you roll into Owensboro and they advertise West Kentucky barbecue, everybody down here just shakes their head. Of course, when I'm in Dawson Springs and I say I'm from Western Kentucky, everybody down here just shakes their head. So, you know, seriously, As you can imagine, I came into office on December the 11th and been in office now about 7 weeks or so. And we've had a few things on our plate. And we've been pretty busy there, not only with working on a budget, but with the legislature having just come to town. And so I've honestly stayed pretty close to Frankfort because we've had to. But this is one of the first trips outside of Frankfort that I've made. And I've come here to Paducah for a reason. I've come here to make sure that you know, that I know, that Western Kentucky and the Purchase area are important to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I know well that feeling of isolation that many folks in these parts feel when they talk about Frankfort and state government. And I am determined, and I can assure you, that for the next 4 years, you are going to be right in the middle of everything that's happening in this state from an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint, from every standpoint, because it is time that this area of the state get its fair share of attention from Frankfort and move forward like it is poised to move forward. I think that I set the stage in the right way when I first came into office to deliver that message. We had a large number of folks from the Purchase area on our transition team. I think more than has been on a transition team in years. We've got a number of people working in high positions in Frankfort already from this area. I know many of you remember Charles Jevedon, the former state representative that is now the Deputy Secretary in the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet in Frankfort. J.R. Gray, state representative from over in Marshall County, is my commissioner of the Department of Labor and will be the Secretary of Labor when we reorganize that and make it into a cabinet level position again, like I promised to do during the campaign. Chuck Jevedon, a younger Jevedon, who oversees the daily operations of the Governor's Office of Homeland Security. Howard Walker, former sheriff from right here in McCracken County. He's working as a field representative in the Office of State Grants. And further away from here, even though they would call it West Kentucky in Owensboro, Helen Mountjoy, who is my Secretary of the Education Cabinet. We need to make sure, as we move through this administration, that we have folks like this and others who are on our team on a first-hand basis and who have an upfront seat on that team so that they can help me make sure that we fulfill the commitment that we've made to this whole area of Kentucky. I want to talk to you a few minutes about the situation in which we find ourselves from a budget standpoint. When I arrived in Frankfort on December the 11th, I sort of felt like I would find the cupboard bare because, you know, when you change administrations, that happens more often than not. What I didn't know is that the cupboard was going to be gone too. But it is. What we have found, let me just sort of lay this out for you. Because there are two reasons for the problem that we face. First of all, over the last few years, state government has systematically used a lot of what I call one-time money to pay for continuing programs. Now, that's not good budgeting practices. I mean, if you running your own business, the same thing would be if you went out and took a loan to pay for your payroll. You know, that money doesn't show up again, but the payroll does. And that's what's happened with us. We have used that kind of, you know, a budget surplus, for instance, in 2006. We had one, over $400 million. But we took that, apparently, and spent it mostly on programs that continue and that need that spending every year. So there's been a lot of that over the last few years. And coupled with that is the fact that the economy's turned down. And we're not getting the tax revenue from all of our different taxes that we hoped we would because of that. Back in October, there's a group called the Consensus Forecasting Group. It's a group of economists that statutorily function here in the state to give us our revenue projections, the revenue projections that I must write my budget on. And in October of last year, they reduced the revenue estimates for the fiscal year we're in right now that ends June 30, and then the next 2 years because of the downturn in the economy. They came back in December and then again January the 16th and lowered them again each time. So at this point, we are spending in this current fiscal year that we're in, ending June 30 of this year, we're spending at about a $9.4 billion rate. That's what we're spending currently. The projections I've got to deal with and prepare a budget on for next year are about $8.8 billion. There's a $600 million shortfall that we have to deal with. And that, my friends, is a real tough task because there is not a new dollar out there as we prepare this budget. You know, I would love to be in that position that I hope to be in when I ran for governor of coming out with a great new bundle of programs that we could do this and we could do that. But instead, I'm faced with a situation where if I decide to put another dollar in this program, I've got to go and take it out of somebody else's pocket that already has it because there isn't a new dollar to pull down. Now, you know, there's a couple of options that you have anytime you're in this kind of situation. One of them is to raise taxes. That is my last option. I campaigned on the fact that I didn't feel like we needed tax increases at this time in Kentucky, and I still feel like that. That is my last option. What my option that I have chosen is, and I think that most people in this state will agree with me, is just like when a Kentucky family finds themselves in this situation. What do? They have to tighten their belts. They have to balance their checkbooks. They don't just create a bunch of new money to put in their checking accounts. They can't, and we can't either. And my friends, I'll tell you this. Now, it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be a lot of pain to go around in doing this. But in the long run, we will be better off. In the long run, as we get our spending back in tune with our revenues, we will all be better off because we will have put ourselves on a more firm financial basis than what we are right now. We will have strong financial footing on which to build out then our economy and our educational systems and all of those things that need more money. So that's where we find ourselves, and that's what I'll be talking about tomorrow night. But you know what? There is real hope out there for the future, and I'm optimistic about the future. We've got some temporary situations we've got to deal with, but together we'll get through this. We'll get through it because we have to, and we'll get through it because we'll do it together. And my friends, the potential in this purchase area is tremendous. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You know this. But I want to tell you, I know this, and state government is going to know this. The economic development potential that's here is tremendous. The river that you have, you know, not many folks have one that they can take advantage of. You do. And I know that you all are working to take advantage of that. And I'm going to work with you over the next 4 years to make sure we do take advantage of that and take advantage of the maritime industries that we have here, because they can do nothing but expand if we do this right. The whole energy sector of our economy, we have great advantages down in this end of the state. You know, we not only have the West Kentucky coal fields just a little east of you here, but we also have rich and fertile farmland. And there is a growing place for alternative fuels in our country. Because I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of us sending billions and billions of dollars overseas every year, mostly to folks that hate our guts, because we've got to have the oil to run our cars and trucks and heat our homes. And my friends, from a national security standpoint and from an economic standpoint, it is time that we become much more energy efficient in this country. And not only will coal play a part in that, and in that part of it, we've got to develop the clean coal technologies that will allow us to continue to burn coal and burn it cleanly. But the alternative fuel sector will play a big part in that. And we can grow every kind of crop that we need that can produce the different kinds of alternative fuel that are out there, the biodiesel, the biomass, all of those kinds of things, the ethanol. And that's going to have a real place in our society. And we are poised right here in Western Kentucky to take advantage of that. Tourism. You all know a lot about tourism. Western Kentucky's always known a lot about tourism. We've got our lakes, we've got our river, we've got all of the kinds of things that it takes to develop a steady and growing tourism trade here in the Purchase area. There's a new type of tourism developing out there that they call adventure tourism, which is geared to taking advantage of the outdoors. And we are starting right now to look at ways of developing a trail system all across this state. A trail system not only for horseback riding, but for ATVs, for all of the kinds of outdoor activities that can be experienced in this area of the country as well as the rest of Kentucky. And that can be a tremendous addition to the tourism efforts that we're already making here in West Kentucky. So we are poised for greatness. We really are. We're poised to bring more industry in here. We've got the road systems. I know they need to be improved, but I'll tell you, when you look at the road systems we've got in West Kentucky, they're a lot better than a lot of places in our state, and we are connected up to interstates that run through our section of the state here. We've got the water. We've got all of the things we need to continue to build the manufacturing base and also the technology base. You've got this school right here. And Barbara, I want to congratulate you all for what you have done here at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. I mean, what an asset you've got here. And not everybody has something like this. And this asset will not only help us educate our people and train our people, but it will partner with the economic part of this city and this county and these communities around here, just as Murray State University will do that. And together, that will help us grow this area. Because many of the jobs... Many of the jobs of the 21st century, as we all know, are not the jobs that we're used to seeing. They're going to be changing. They're going to require different skills, different talents. And our educational institutions are going to play a vital role in that. And the whole community and technical school system is absolutely vital to that. When you come out of high school anymore, you know, unless your family owns a business or unless you're just real lucky, you're probably not going to have the skill set to find a good paying job. You have to go get more training these days, more skills. And the KCTCS system is poised to do just that for us. It is one of the most important parts of our whole educational system because it will be able to produce folks with the kinds of skills and training that they're going to need to move ahead and to get the kinds of 21st century jobs that we want to create. So let's take heart, and I mean that sincerely. You know, it's tough times, but we've been in tough times. You people that have a business have gone through this. And you know, when it's tough times, you tighten your belt, you balance your checkbook, but you also plan for the future. And we're planning for the future. I think you will see tomorrow night as we deliver our budget address that in addition to tightening our belts, which we have to do, we are planning for the future. We have things and ways that we are moving that will continue to build upon the momentum that we have in this state. We've got momentum in education. We've got momentum in many areas of economic development, and we've got to continue to build on that. And if we do, and if we do it together, and that's what it's going to require, is us coming together. I know you all heard me probably ad nauseum during the campaign, but I meant what I said. You know, we have partisan elections, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm proud of it, and I run as a Democrat. But you know, when these elections are over with, the people of this state expect us, regardless of our political affiliation, to come together and to help move this state forward. And that's what I'm going to do. And I've got my hand out to the legislature, both Democrats and Republicans, and I've been working with all of them to pull everybody together to make sure we do the very best we can in planning the future of this state. And we're going to do that. And I'm confident that if we do that, and if you join with us in doing that, not only will Kentucky really move forward, but this whole purchase area is going to move forward. And I'm going to make sure it does. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Governor, every positive thing that you say about the future of Kentucky and collaboration and partnership, I truly believe that this community embodies. We have worked together collaboratively on more projects than we could probably list off for you in both hands. We work together, we come together in tough times, and we're all committed to making not only this region, as I said earlier, but all of Kentucky first and foremost in economic development and quality of life. We sincerely thank you for making your visit to Western Kentucky. And I'm very pleased to have you on this college campus and to hear your remarks about education. This community is behind education. We have supported this college for many, many years. And as Glenn said, you're sitting in a building that was totally created with private funds from this community. We have a great vision, this community does, for its future. And we want to be a part of your administration working with you to make all of this happen. So I thank you once again, you, for being with us, and each of you for showing your dedication to what we're trying to do here and for coming out into your community's campus. So thank you, and if you haven't had an opportunity to meet the governor, I'm sure he would like to do so. And then if you haven't had a chance to have some lunch, please do that as well. Thank you once again for coming.